Welcome to A Way Forward. My name is Maria. I'm your host. I welcome you to this space because I would like to take this opportunity to talk about issues in detail and uplift and reconnect our humanity one conversation at a time. My guest today is Amr Abdullah, and he's going to help us think about a way forward when it comes to doing business with a mission that isn't just profit. Amr is a restaurateur, comedian, and recovering investment banker. We'll get into that. After growing up working in his family's Palestinian restaurant, Cedar's Mediterranean Kitchen in Chicago's Hyde Park, he and his brother have carried on the restaurant tradition, not only taking their ownership of Cedar's since his father's passing, but also co-founding the very popular Hot Shy Chicken on the South Side, among other locations. He's used his position as a restaurant owner in the community to lead fundraisers for humanitarian aid in Gaza. And when he's not doing all of that, he is telling jokes as a comedian and hosting comedy nights featuring renowned comedians from around the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Did I do a good job here? There's a lot to cover.
I'm gonna grab that snippet, 45 seconds,
Mhm.
and record it on my iPhone voice memo, and then just replay it every morning when I wake up.
That's right. Remind yourself of your greatness. So let's start with recovering investment banker.
Yes.
What does that mean?
I think that investment banking is a very interesting career path that people pick, almost like sports, where they take these 21-year-olds, pay them way too much money, like sports, and put them through the ringer in their 20s, really test them. And very, very easy to kind of get addicted, if you will, to the high of doing deals, making a whole bunch of money, big paychecks, steak dinners. And so recovering investment banker is a reference to the fellowship programs like AA, obviously. I felt like I had to create my own fellowship program post investment banking in order to recover my soul. And the good news is I've recovered much of it.
So, added to that with the steak dinners and making young people feel that they're really, really important by
Yeah.
the big bucks. That's really the drive. It's a nice boost to the ego, feeling like you're in control of so much. Investment bankers aren't funny. So how did you survive that? How did you find your way into comedy?
It's funny you ask, actually. So I found myself, like the rest of the investment banking world, for the most part. We're stereotyping, but just one track minded, money, 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 profit, profit, profit. And a lot of personality was missing. So literally 8 or 9 years in, I'm like, I literally hate who I've become. I don't have any jokes anymore. I don't use irony anymore. I don't see sarcasm or use sarcasm anymore. This is boring. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to recover. I'm going to do the Amr Abdullah Reclamation Project. And that's when I actually just started taking a class at Second City. That you myself touring with the great, talented Azhar Usman, Mo Amr, and a few others. Within a year or two, I'm like, all right, I'm getting the hell out of there, banking, and transforming myself into something else. And that's when I started to myself do improv comedy, stand-up comedy. I began to study film, TV, do some investments in independent film and TV. I didn't go as far as begin touring and hitting all these random cities in Des Moines, Iowa, and whatever, Kansas City, to try and build my name. I kind of, sputtered out. But I felt like it was okay, this is the right time. I'm starting to have a family. I'm gonna now pivot to something else, and that's when, other career opportunities presented themselves, and I took advantage of those. But to answer your question, it wasn't like I was Mr. Funny in banking. It was quite the opposite. I was kind of shriveling. My personality was shriveling. I was like, whoa, I need to hit the button on this.
But that's huge, Amr, because it's not like you weren't funny in investment banking. You were a funny person. There was no space for it there, right? That doesn't help in making the deals, but also for you to take control and recognize that that is who you are. Being true to yourself is more important than other people telling you that you're making big deals and making an impact. If you're not yourself and you're making an impact, there's a disconnect.
That was the big conclusion I came to.
Yeah.
Was I don't like this person that I've become, and I get to pick now. Do I want to continue to hate this person myself, or a different way forward?
Talk to me about stand up, because stand up in itself is people, I don't think people realize how it's an art. It's very, very challenging. So,
I would definitely say this first and foremost: those who have done it, like Azhar, like Moammer, like pick your big name comedian, they would answer that question way, 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 way better than myself. All right. That's the first thing. Second thing, for myself, I think this is one of the reasons I sputtered out. It is so hard. I was blessed and privileged to go to University of Chicago, where they don't just hand out A's and B's like some other schools. You got to literally earn it. And that was really, really hard for me to elevate my game and perform well in that school. I then went to JP Morgan and worked there for a decade. And investment banking is also kind of like the analogy I gave was a sports team, a professional sports team. I cannot kid you. Banking chewed up so many people that I began with and worked with and spit them right out. You didn't make money this year. Your P&L, your profit for this year is low. You're out. And I was just like looking around me every 6 months or a year. It was a rotation of people getting out of there.
wow.
Very hard. That's investment banking. Okay. Let's see. Make sure you can see me. UFC, investment banking,
Yeah.
stand-up comedy. Oh, way, 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 way harder than both those.
Wow.
Literally the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. We all know the whole thing. People say I'd rather die than do public speaking. Like that aspect is a big part of it, is just like all these eyeballs on you. And it's not like some people will ultimately get over the fear and just do it. And they tell themselves it's just this one time, right? Stand-up comedy, not just this one time. The only way to actually get better is to go up on stage every single night. The next level of that is what you basically said is like, oh, your job is to be funny. You actually have to not only bring energy, but you have to bring creative use of language, creative ideas, creative performance. You have to act. They're literally called act outs. So that is what I think some elements that make stand-up comedy very, very hard. And then, of course, you fail at work, you fail in school, you get a B or C, you kind of have, you feel bad about it. But in stand-up comedy, the instant feedback of that was funny or that wasn't funny is very, very difficult. And you still have to get up on stage the next day. It's not like the next big client meeting or the next big test is a week or two away. It's like the next day. Otherwise, your art will just shrivel up and not be very good.
And you can't change their mind. Like they're your audience at that time, right? So they've had that exchange. I mean, I think what you're describing though, Amir, is like the grind. Like people don't realize the grind. Like of course I've read interviews and heard stories about other comedians and just showing up every time, getting that one shot, going through the process. Like it's a very difficult, dedicated discipline. And I love the fact that you like created that hierarchy, because comedy is so different from being a UFC student, right? In that cold campus and grinding through exams. It's such a different world. But like if you want to be really, really good, you can't get away from the grind.
I did it almost full time for probably 5 years, part time and full time for probably 10 years. And I'll add this. I'm an owner in 5 restaurants.
Yeah.
And that is not as hard as stand-up comedy. And so what I'm finding is, at least in restaurants, at least in banking, at least in school, like you get some wins. That's not how stand-up comedy works. The people who actually become successful in stand-up comedy, God bless him, Mo Amer, he's a great example.
Mhm.
Watch that guy grind for 20 years, I think. 20 years until we all knew his name. I never even got close to that. You know what I'm saying? And so there was never really a big gratifying moment in comedy for me where I'm like, oh, look at this crowd of 500 that I was able to sell tickets to. No, I didn't get there. I sputtered out. So add insult to injury. It's so hard. And I do nothing but salute comedians, because I'm like, you are doing, some serious work here to better yourself, get people entertained and laughing. And for those who are successful, earn an income for yourself and provide for your family doing.
Yeah, but I salute you. I mean, you call it sputtered out, but it's like your story is not over in comedy, right? It's like it can always be tapped back in. But I feel like the fact that you took all those routes and all those processes to get to where you are now, like it just becomes, it's a part of the process. Like I understand it. I understand it taking all these different roles, and maybe somebody's headed completely one way, but you have different parts of that, right?
Mhm.
So that's what's really, really cool. You brought up, now you own 5 restaurants, and you have a passion for food. And I want to know where that comes from. Like, where did that come from? What's the history of that?
I'd be lying to you if I told you I'm this chefy, you know, creative, crazy chef in the kitchen, parsley flying
Yeah,
everywhere.
throwing salts. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
The salt. That's not. That's. I'd be lying. I'm more the restaurateur. Now I will tell you this. I cook a ton. I love to cook. I actually think I'm a really good cook. And some of the menu items I myself did indeed craft, and I wouldn't say from scratch. I would say more like inspired by previous menus and other chefs that I've worked with. So yeah, like my favorite thing is the Popeyes Ain't Shit chicken sandwich. It's one of our most popular sandwiches at Hot Shot. It's basically getting involved in these whole chicken sandwich wars, and we're like, all right, Popeyes supposedly won, so we're gonna make the Popeyes Ain't Shit chicken sandwich.
Okay.
And so that one, I heavily came up with that. It was inspired by a different chef named Chef Amado Lopez, a chef we worked with. He kind of came up with a Middle Eastern version of it, and I did a whole swapping out and changing up, and that's what hit really well. But beyond that, I have not really chefed it up. Instead, I have been inspired by my spiritual guide, Dr. Omar Sheikh Mohammed in Gambia, and what they kept reminding me over and over and over, which was the beauty of keeping kinship, keeping relationships, being of service to others, and feeding people. And I was like, oh, okay,
Big priority. Hmm.
absolutely. And I was like, okay, that doesn't just mean I donate to, Red Crescent or some other organization and they feed the people. No, maybe it means more literally for me. And so that was really inspiring. And so I kind of took on my dad's mission in so many ways. My dad, God rest his soul, wanted to literally feed as many people as he possibly could in his life. But I think that's where the inspiration comes from in many ways is feeding people and what that will do for me and my own self and my own soul as I continue this reclamation project.
You're in the same spaces, or in the service of doing the same things that your father did in an intimate way. And it's fascinating. You're saying that you found a path to satisfy your soul, to be able to feed people. You're not necessarily a diehard foodie, but really taking you to the same place where your father was. It's a
Yeah.
full circle moment where your soul feels the most at peace, is where your father found the most passion and purpose. Do you have, like, in your mind's eye, like, images of him, like, interacting with food and interacting with people as you do this?
Subconsciously, absolutely. Yeah. Subconsciously, I do. Just because I watched him as a kid growing up, and that ain't going to go away anytime soon. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure some of my behaviors, both good and bad, are inspired by his behaviors himself. It's funny, Maria. I feel some grief coming up around it. Yeah, the first person I called after my father passed away, maybe we first or second, was your dear brother, Coram.
Oh,
I was standing at the University of Chicago in the emergency room, and I realized, oh wow, dad has passed away, and he passed away doing the thing he loved most, which was feeding people. He died actually in the restaurant.
I think what it is when you lose a parent like that, both of us lost our fathers, you learn more about how similar you are to them as you move along in your life. You rediscover parts of him that you did not tap into while he was alive. But that is a
Yeah.
whole purpose of powerful parenting, is that the person is just there. You have memories of watching him as a kid. So it's
Yeah.
really not like those intense, that detailed conversation you had that changed your life and he showed you the way. It's literally the glimpses you have that give you grief, is like him putting something down on a table, him just moving across the room. Of humans in your life just walking around you is such a powerful gift.
Yeah.
Like, with people who pass, you're always saying this, especially with loved ones. It's like what I wouldn't do for them, for me to just walk in and them being sitting on the sofa watching TV, even if they don't talk to me. I know that you spoke about the fact that all he wanted to do was just feed as many people as he can. Is that kind of what led to you to, if you can talk about your kitchen? I think you have a relief
Yeah.
kitchen as well. And
It started with October 15th, a week after October 7th.
okay.
We just right away said, all right, all sales for this day are going to entirely go to PCRF, Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. We don't know if they're going to get in. We don't know if they're going to be able. Let's just do it. Let's just do it and
Yeah.
say Bismillah. With God's will, something will happen good with this money. And people showed up. It was crazy. It was still unclear what the outcome of all this was going to be. I remember the first time I got on the mic. So the place was overfilled. The line was obviously out the door into the plaza. People just buying as much food as they could because they knew all sales are going to go towards relief in Palestine. And two things I immediately recognized. One, there weren't many Arabs or Muslims in the crowd. Maybe 30 or 30, a third. And it was 2/3 just white folks, black folks, Asian folks, non-Muslims. And so I went out and started talking to people and just getting to know them. And it was easily of the people who were there that were not Muslim, half were Jewish. That was my first inkling of like, wait a minute, something's different here.
Yeah.
I grew up with this, horrific experience as a Palestinian, everything in Palestine, watching it from abroad. Since I was literally 6 years old, maybe 5 or 6 years old, I've had survivor's guilt, shame around the whole thing. And I've taken many steps to try and address that for myself. That was the first thing I noticed was half the people here are not Muslim, but I think almost half are Jewish. So I got to know them and I was like, all right, cool. And they would many times come thereafter. The second thing I realized was, God bless these people. We because so many people were ordering so much food. By the end of the night, by the way, we raised, I think, 14 grand, if memory serves. Our normal sales there is 3 times. So it's five times that amount. The second thing is I went on the mic really cautiously. I'm like, hey, everyone, guys, we're literally at an hour wait. If you order right now, you probably don't want to order. You're going to wait an hour and reconsider what you're doing here. Just give you a heads up. And then somebody in the crowd said, well, what are sales at? How much have we done? I was like, oh, okay. I just grabbed my phone real quick. We have a little app that tells us sales. I'm like, oh, we're at 6,000. The crowd erupted and went bananas. And I was like, they're trying to get the number higher.
This is what they're here. Yeah. This is what they're here for. Wow.
My first, and I was like, okay, got it. Not a single person left. The line only got longer. And so then every half an hour I went on, I'm like, hey, we're at 8 grand explosion, 10 grand explosion, 12 grand explosion. And I was like, okay, all the way to the last order, the place was completely full. And so that was the second thing I realized was like, oh, they don't care about the food or the weight or this or that. They're here for a different purpose. And we were able to be that vehicle. That led to Ceasefire in November. Us trying to raise, as small as we are, trying to raise the awareness of like, hey, let's all call for a ceasefire.
Yeah.
And then into that December, we gave a big chunk of money to the Bethlehem Christmas Church. And then thereafter, the comedy shows in January began in 2024 and proceeded all the way into 2025. And that's kind of the impetus of it all. It then morphed into, we had a partner called Pious Projects. And it morphed into those guys saying, hey, you're giving us so much money. Why don't we do a dedicated thing for you guys where it's just your kitchen, so on and so forth, to pay homage to my father. We're like, oh, let's give it a name too. Let's call it Sudki's Kitchen. And they were able to print some banners and do some cool stuff.
Awesome.
And people kind of felt it in Palestine, like, oh, okay, there's these people in Chicago who are Palestinian.
Care about us.
And so on and so forth. And that's how the story went.
That's incredible. That's incredible, Amr. Like, number one, you use the word vehicle. Like that totally came to my mind, right? It's like we are just used as vehicles. Like just what you said that, hopefully we'll do something small and, with God's help, we'll do it. He just used you. And then when you look out and you see the line, like I'm imagining the way you're describing it, you're like, oh, like it all makes sense. It's actually,
Right.
I'm just, it's just in motion. I'm part of this little part here. And then just the ability to recognize how like human suffering, human starvation, empathy, these are like things that connect our humanity, like regardless, right? For you to like meet all those Jewish people and then wonder like, why are you still standing here? It's going to be an hour. I mean, you have this connection. They have a connection from a different angle, but at the end of the day, they were here because they're humans. I'm really inspired by the fact that you were able to recognize the value of what you were doing and also that you were a vehicle and that it connected to a larger image, because there's a lot of people who don't have that opportunity. Thank goodness that your soul was suffering in investment banking. Thank goodness you weren't the funny guy on the table and they were like, we need this guy to close the deals. Thank goodness you sputtered also in comedy, because that moment where that line is so long and that food reached a child in Gaza, It's like the hierarchy is
Right. I agree with that. I usually often will minimize that perspective. So it's good to hear, even in a public forum like this, to hear that. That's really good to hear. You know,
yeah.
one more thing I want to share. Actually, I forgot about this. In November, Ceasefire November. This is 2023, so this is 2 years
Yeah.
ago. I was so inspired by the number of young Jewish people that came in to the restaurant that October. Again, it was kind of waking me up. I'm like, what's going on here? Things are changing. This is different, you know? Again, I went to UFC 20 years prior. I had a
Mhm.
bunch of Jewish friends that were friends with me, and I didn't have that experience at all when,
Mhm.
shit was going down in Palestine
Mhm.
back then in 2001, but it was different now. And so in November, we gave money to Pious Projects, PCRF, but then we also gave to 4 more organizations on dedicated days. The first one was JVP, Jewish Voice,
Mhm.
and we made it very public we were doing that. The second one was B'Tselem, the human rights organization in Israel.
Mhm.
The third one was If Not Now,
Mhm.
and the fourth one was Breaking the Silence. And so people were just kind of, I think like, oh, wait a minute, this guy is doing one of these. He's bringing everyone in. So
Absolutely. And I think also like people carry so many preconceived notions. This is like the biggest thing, right? When we're in our echo chamber, we have preconceived notions about people and their sentiments and where they lie. And they really hinder us from connecting to each other and actually reaching the finish line to actually help people. Our goal is whatever your skill or your talent is, whatever God has given you to be a vehicle is to be able to help somebody that can't help themselves. And for
yes,
that, you need to be able to recognize how you can connect to another human so they can be an ally to you. And if you have preconceived notions, like I see this all the time in my work too, like when I'm trying to push a policy and people are like, don't go to this person, don't go to this legislator or don't bother approaching this community. I actually don't ever buy into it
wow,
because I know that there are basic human principles. Everybody wants their child to be safe. Everybody has a problem with starvation. Everybody wants to have security. Like, if you can meet people where they're at and then connect with them as humans, it's a whole different, the world opens up for you. Yes,
that
Miss.
morphed into something unexpected in the spirit of like, how did comedy continue to impact some of this? We continue to do Gaza Comedy Show fundraisers. We sold out, I think, 13 or 14 in a row. It's been a wild experience, and I do think it took me some experiences in those moments to put my ego aside and realize this is not about me. I will say, because it's so damn big, my ego. I had to remind myself that over and over and over again.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing. It's like, I mean, it's a cliche statement, but it is like you have these plans, but God has plans you can't even imagine.
The thing I keep telling our team is be ready to embrace fail fast.
Yeah.
That's a big thing in comedy. I had to remind myself every day for 5 years is fail fast, embrace failure, keep failing, faster, get over it, faster, fail. Oftentimes I'm dragging them with me because that it's not comfortable for them.
Yeah.
I have a different experience being on stage hundreds of times, failing,
Yeah.
saying a bunch of jokes and everyone's just kind of looking at me with a weird, awkward stare. And so they haven't been there. So I've got to kind of
Yeah.
lead that
I
path
mean,
of
you'll be all right.
we'll be
You'll be
okay.
all right.
We'll be okay. Come on. We failed.
Yeah.
It's okay. We'll be okay. And so I think that's also
Yeah.
been a key thing is reminding them to fail fast.
We are talking about food. We're talking about comedy, all things that make us laugh and bring us joy. But there is real trauma. Okay. Like we are kind of in this orbit and we're the center pit of it is a lot of trauma, a lot of tragedy, a lot of sadness, a lot of visual evidence, a lot of things like that that you can't unsee. No matter where you are, on the side of the issue, you cannot unsee some things. Have you found in the people that you're engaging with and coming to your spaces that the comedy and the food has helped in dealing with that trauma? Like, people always ask, like, how do you move on when you know what you know? How do you get up the next day? Like you had survivor's guilt, for example, right?
I'll put it this way. When we weren't doing comedy shows or fundraisers, it was literally if one was not on the calendar yet, or we didn't have a plan for something, or it was ambiguous. I kid you not, I would struggle to sleep at night.
Mm.
I probably watched the videos a little bit too much, bad for my mental health, more feeling like crap, more of like, what the hell am I doing here with my privilege? But when I would get over myself and get over that victim mentality and be like, no, we're putting on this show. I don't care if 5 people show up. Because there was oftentimes of like, well, we sell the tickets. We got to do this. We got to get the food ready. We got to get these 10 people ready, this whole staff. When I was doing all that and doing all that work and organizing people and, fighting hard and motivating the team, fail fast, I could sleep better at night. It was more work and it was annoying, but at least I could sleep better, and at least the survivor's guilt would go away.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I think the primary reason for doing a lot of that work for me was selfish in the sense of like I wanted to rise above all my crappy feelings and try and be more in a place of feeling neutral, or at least feeling like I can sleep at night, feeling like, okay, I'm contributing as small as my contribution is. After 1 or 2 times of doing some of the stuff and realizing, oh, that's the only thing that makes me feel better, literally, that would be the motivator.
Like it propelled you to go bigger and continue, and then it grew. It's such a beautiful feeling as a human to take ownership of the fact that you feel like you're not doing enough. Take ownership of that, right? It's a beautiful feeling. It's like the good guy feels that way, right? Like, what am I doing? I'm not doing enough.
Literally the human negative bias that we carry with us on a day-to-day basis. And
Yeah, and then if you stop, your hands are tied. You don't get moments like a long line of people of different faiths saying, let's keep going. You don't get those. So just looking out for those, you got to just go forward.
100%.
So what do you think for someone who wants to make impact and finds themselves in this position, whether trapped and their personality is shriveling, or they want to impact in a bigger way, and they don't know how to help somebody. They just don't know how, but humanly, they know that their humanity connects with somebody suffering. What would your words be to them?
So halfway through these comedy show fundraisers, we came up with a cool idea called the Community Hero, of which our third one, I think, was you, Maria.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. That was so incredibly humbling.
Absolutely. Well-deserved, and I think important for our crowd to frankly know. So again, not about us, but about them being, hey, this is happening and you don't know it.
Yeah, and it's possible.
Right. We had probably 7 or 8 of those people come, and a handful of others like that. And the common thing I found in all of them is they literally, and I judge this about you too, Maria, they literally, and I judge this about myself too, are careful about their soul. How does one carry on a relationship with their own soul? Are you looking at it in a certain way and developing it with some level of intention, small, medium, large? And it seems to me that for those who are looking to make an impact or keep the impact going, I think question number 1 is, what is your relationship with yourself and your own soul? So I would say that was one thing I found in common with yourself and many of those people who came in. And I think it's a good thing to look at is like, oh, I'm in a unique seat where I could see a bunch of community heroes. And what am I seeing in common with all those people? Now, I only get to talk to them for a short period. So it's hard to really say that with 100% truthfulness and confidence. However, when you give somebody a mic and they stand in front of everybody, you kind of quickly get a feel, what kind of person is this? And what kind of self-talk and development have they done with their own selves? You get an idea. And so that's kind of what I developed over time is, okay, I'm starting to see who's who, caring for one's own soul. And that's what our beloved prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was sent for, was to perfect noble character. And that's what I would say is I think the biggest thing to drive impact.
I'm a big fan of the reclamation project of Amr Abdullah. And I am so thankful that has yielded so many good things and so much more to come. We are going to be putting links out for your restaurant, for the kitchen, so people can have impact. Everybody can start right there and supporting and making that impact. And I thank you for your time.
Blessings to you all.